aware because, well, if we're talking specifically in the States, there are plenty of other countries who have plenty of guns rolling around in their economies.
Well, Barack Obama famously said we are the only country of our type that this happens. As in, we're the only first world country with a mass problem with mass shooting. So why is America? There's other countries with more gun crime, more deaths from guns, but they're all poor countries. Why has such a rich country got such a high rate of death by gun?
Well, it has a different policy. If you're just talking about this type of country, it has a very different policy to most of the other countries out there, right? If you think about all the European countries who don't allow guns whatsoever, not whatsoever, but what's the law in this country on guns?
Offhand, I don't know, but after Dunblane, I know they changed things because of what had happened, and they made gun.
Right, and they did that
gun
in
laws
Australia as well.
stricter,
But if
yeah.
you're just talking about Europe, I understand in Switzerland you're allowed to carry a gun. I think it might be a type of gun,
Yeah.
and you may have to have a license on it. Whereas over here, I don't believe you can carry a gun, regardless of license, apart from maybe farmers who are allowed to own a shotgun for self-defense, for animal reasons.
To shoot the animals.
But put all of that aside, or think about all of that, it's very different in the States as it is to any other country of that type.
Jason is saying in the chat he wouldn't mind having a gun. Well, would you mind if everyone had a gun? When will the US get some common sense and put in select gun regulations, strict gun regulations? American have to do this, and it's going to be risky. Many Americans I've spoken to are hardened supporters of the right to bear arms and would never give it up. Yeah, in America, I think they will never give it up. It's in the culture now.
I think it's very much Democratic versus Republican thinking, whereas, and that's very generalized, very generalized. Just I know a lot of Republicans who enjoy owning arms, and they enjoy going hunting, and that's their reason
what else
for.
do they enjoy?
Eating.
Do they enjoy killing people with the death penalty?
I couldn't speak. Never really spoke about that with them.
Here are the stereotypes, and tell me if this describes.
I'm not talking about stereotypes. I'm talking about people that I know.
Okay, but I bet, and stereotypes are there for a reason, all your friends that love owning a gun also believe in the death penalty, also are against abortion, also might be a bit racist. No offence. All right, now now I'm exaggerating, but it seems like.
I never covered any of those topics with them.
But we just ran around in white hoods and had a great time. It never came up. I couldn't tell who was black and white, okay? Everyone was covered.
We were all the same
All
colour.
you see is the eyes.
Yeah.
This is the stereotype. And a friend of mine was saying a while back that, oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, we'll read comments if we want. If we run out of things to say, but by all means keep commenting, we appreciate it. Now, I know somebody who had a family member who was...
So, according to the both of us, what are the solutions to prevent further school mall shootings?
What are the solutions? According to us?
According to us. You got nothing?
No, I've got nothing. But let me tell you my funny story. Not funny story, interesting anecdote. A person who I know in America was getting into politics, and they're very, very left-wing.
Yeah.
So would be anti-gun.
So that way, okay.
Yeah, left-wing, Democrat supporting and against owning gun ownership. But then they got threatened a few times, and they're of a Muslim background, and there was Islamophobic attacks, and they ended up buying a gun for self-protection, which is kind of going against what they stand for politically, but the reality hit them. I need a gun to protect myself, and
Does that
it's a sad
come
reality.
under the right to bear arms?
Comes under the right to bear arms.
Is it Second
And
Amendment?
if you're getting into politics, the fact that you've got a gun might actually win you some friends on the right in America. Sadly, that's the case. I'm not saying
It's just a sad case of the state of the world where guns really came around, right? If we could all sort of, as a whole world, take a step back away from nuclear weapons to like missiles to even guns to just maybe wielding swords, whilst it might sound a bit in the wrong direction, caveman-esque, it would certainly do a lot less damage to, one, the environment, two, each other.
Well, who's damaging the environment? What, guns?
Well, it's big business, isn't it?
Okay.
It's massive business, and obviously any of these tests that they do in remote islands and whatnot, that's damaging the environment and such.
Yeah, environment. The guy just over there is very big on the environment. Environment. Someone in the comments.
She thought about the bigger picture in regards to the environment.
Yeah, well, but are we talking bullets left on the
I'm
floor?
not necessarily talking about the climate, or I'm not.
Gunpowder fumes, noise pollution. I can't sleep at night. People firing shots down the road.
In my current environment, you're right next to me, right?
Yeah, I'm polluting.
So it doesn't have to be maybe polluting my mind.
Yeah.
Propaganda. It's a different way of thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got environmental reasons for gun control.
On a very micro scale environment.
Okay. Well, no, look.
You can think massive as well. You can, if you're going to go. Well, we're talking about gun control rather than.
No, but we can go anywhere because I always start these chats on one thing and it goes everywhere. Someone in the comments is saying respect to everyone in the chat.
He thinks we live in a time of peace. No, I don't think we live in a time of peace. I've stated that we live in some sad times, right, in the state of the world. Whereas it would be nice if we took it way back.
Is the world worse now? Are we less at peace, or are there just more of us, so there's bound to be more people killing each other?
Oh, I mean,
is it actually that bad?
Yeah, I always talk percentages. The world is constantly evolving. I mean, it's had a massive change since the Industrial Revolution. There are big changes even previous to that. But,
who was it who said, when they said, what do you think of the effects of the Industrial Revolution? And they said, it's too early to tell. And this was like 10 years ago. So a wise man. If anyone knows, right, who said it's too early to tell the effects of the Industrial Revolution? Sorry, I spoke over you, which is against the rules on the live show.
Lost my train of thought.
You lost your flow.
Yeah.
No, all right, here's a question for you. Is Islam a religion of peace?
I'll try another question.
Okay. Is the Muslim religion a peaceful way of life?
I mean, we've gone away from gun control towards religion.
Yeah.
I feel like...
I know this. Ali doesn't want to answer the question. No, just because I've got a good answer. I heard someone say that.
Okay, so let me ask you, should I?
Go on.
Is Islam a religion of peace?
I don't know. No, someone said it's not a religion of peace, it's a religion of peace and a religion of war. As in, there will be war, there will be peace, and Islam tells you how to conduct yourself in all of those
it's a way
scenarios.
Of life, isn't it? So it gives you instruction how to conduct yourself in most situations.
Yeah.
But if you're going to ask that question, it's kind of erring towards painting it in that light.
Yeah.
So when you ask the question, is it a religion of peace?
Yeah.
That's what we're thinking about in respect to Islam. Yes or no now, right?
Yeah.
Rather than
black and white.
Rather than everything else that Islam is. So not just war, not just peace. How about how to live a married life? How about how to live a friendly life? How about how to live a business life?
Yeah.
If you're asking the question, is Islam a religion of peace? You throw all of that out the window. So it's not a particularly friendly question in itself, or a peaceful question.
Yeah. Someone is saying Islam is perfect, Muslims are not. Good point. Burger events. Thank you.
I mean, nobody's perfect. Everybody's a sinner, whether you're deemed to be a Muslim or not.
Well, when you look at where is peaceful in the world, where is not peaceful, although we've had this tragedy in America tonight, on average,
I wouldn't say anywhere is peaceful. Right
okay,
now.
but some places are more peaceful than others, right?
How do you define peace?
Fewer massacres, lower crime rate. I think Malta is more peaceful than Gaza, for example.
Okay, fair enough. When I think everywhere, I suppose I don't think about Malta or the Netherlands.
I've been to Malta. It's ridiculous.
Well, the Netherlands, who only have one active prison at the moment. I think the doors are open.
Really?
Yeah, I think their crime rate went so low.
Wow.
That's the case. I suppose Sweden and Finland would be.
There's no crime in London. I said there's no crime in London, Ali. Ever.
Was that a police car or that was a...
No. There's no fires either, or medical emergencies.
Yeah.
All right, so you're one of these guys that likes to say everywhere's equal. I don't want to say one place is worse than another. We're all bad in different ways.
I wouldn't say that.
Why don't you want to say that Malta is more peaceful than Gaza?
I didn't want to say that either.
All right, what do you want to say? Gaza has Zionists trying to colonize them. You have to be fair. That's come from Turkey Watch. Hey, I'm not being unfair. I'm just pointing out the reality, and we can explain why that is or isn't happening. Why do some states in America have higher gun crime than others? Why does America have such a high gun crime rate for a first world country? And we have to put that in there, because when you put it in the league table with the rest of the world, it's behind Brazil, it's behind South Africa, it's behind a lot of... I would imagine, I haven't reeled off the statistics, I know Brazil for a fact has a higher murder rate than America. I would think South Africa does also. Could be wrong. Someone in the chat, Google it. But the point is, or one of the points I think we should make is the problem the gun crime rate, the death from gun rate, or the murder rate? Would you want to live in a country, let's say this country had a very high, death rate from guns, one of the highest in the world, yet its murder rate was below average? Or would you want to live in a country with zero guns, no guns are allowed, and but the murder rate is very high? And someone just mentioned that a lot of the gun deaths are from suicide. Have you got my scenario?
Yeah.
Which do you choose? I mean, it's a very biased question. How you doing, guys?
Bicycle.
Yeah, of course.
No.
Where do you want to go?
I think they want the bike.
نبي خمسة.
خمسة. أخي تحكي عربي صح؟ إيش بدك؟
بدي
بدنا خمسة عجلات.
ما عندي عجلات. لازم تدفع هناك. مش إلي. لا تعطيني المصاري.
لا
ما عندي.
بس احنا مو عارفين الطريقة مالتها شلون.
لا نعرف الطريق.
وأنا كمان ما بعرف. Have you bought one of these before? We're trying to, I think.
It's an Arabic annoyance.
Yeah. We're trying to help some strangers on the street get a bike,
Their bicycle.
a bicyclette, interrupting the flow slightly, but they'll be fine. Yeah, so which country did you choose? Low murder rate or low gun or zero guns?
I guess low murder rate, right? Less people dying.
Yeah, exactly. Premier League is returning next week. Really chuffed. That is bad. Yeah, do you know why they're called Arsenal?
No, I don't.
Well, it's gun related.
Yeah.
The Woolwich Arsenal. So the point on suicides, the number of deaths from suicides, that statistic gets thrown in with the gun death rate, and if you take that out of the equation, you bring America's gun death toll down even further. Right wingers want to leave it in there because they want to show you how terrible guns are. The left wingers want to say, look, those people that want to kill themselves are going to do it with a gun or not.
The other way. Left wingers want to put that stat in there.
Sorry, yeah, they want to throw it in there to make guns look like we need to get rid of them. Right wingers don't think it should be included.
Well,
Should deaths from suicide with a gun be included?
Well, it's gun related, so why wouldn't it be included?
Because if you want to kill yourself, you're going to find a way to do it. If you don't have a gun,
it's a far easier way of killing yourself, though, isn't it?
About saying people would just jump off a bridge or something.
I think,
I mean, it's a very morbid thing to talk about, I know, but
yeah, but if you think about how hard it is, if you actually put yourself and try and think about it, how many times have you pressed a button or pulled a trigger on a computer game? Pulling a trigger doesn't take much, but actually getting up to a bridge, which you may have a fear of heights of, if you don't, you may actually have a fear of it. The actual action leading up to it, it's a bigger...
There's more chance for someone to talk you out of it or for you to
it's just harder
regret
to
it.
do yourself. It's just harder to get there. It's a longer journey.
We had a gun back home and we used to go and visit. It was still peaceful. Dardash, I used to live in East London, I think. Okay, you had a gun. I had a gun and I never killed nobody.
Yeah. One person makes all the stats, doesn't it?
But don't piss me off. Here's another place where the left and right converge, and I'm stereotyping here. A lot of people on the left are very pro euthanasia, and they will say an ill person who's depressed or got chronic illness that they can't bear should be allowed to go to Switzerland, a very liberal country when it comes to these laws, and go to somewhere like Dignitas and be put out of their misery. And the right wing, who are very keen on killing people that look at you the wrong way and threaten to kill you, but they're very against that. So it's like we're emphasizing the sanctity of life at different ends of the spectrum. The right wing want to preserve the embryo. That's a human life. The left wing want to preserve the criminal. That's a human life. Even the murderer, the left wing, and I'm stereotyping because we have to with labels, the left wing want to forgive well, not forgive, but they don't want to see the criminal executed.
What's the question?
Why is it hypocritical? Why is there this split
different
of
levels
opinion?
of morality, really, isn't it? It's how people choose to...
Why can't you have both?
You could if they got along, if they agreed on it, right? If the right and the left agreed on it, but you can't have both because they need something to argue about so that they can get their votes in, so that they can get selected into power.
Okay.
If you had nothing to argue about...
What if someone came along? Do you think if someone did both, they'd get no votes?
Yeah, I think so, because people want somebody who, well, if current politics is anything to go by, especially in America, they want somebody who sticks by what they say they're going to do, which the current leader seems to have been doing somewhat.
Yeah. Corvette in the comments is confirming most people in the US are either pro-life and pro-death penalty, or pro-choice and anti-death penalty. Just seems a little bit strange. Arsenal is the best, saying Boris Johnson says he wants to give amnesty to illegal immigrants, and that's worrying. Dardash is saying it's part of the culture. We had a gun.
Hojo wants to do that.
I didn't hear. I don't. Yeah, you heard it here first in the comments. Boris Johnson wants to give amnesty to illegal immigrants.
So people who have overstayed their welcome.
Well, he's overstayed his welcome. His great-grandfather was from Turkey, and he's still here.
Oh, so maybe he's inspired
and he was born
by
in
his own
America.
life.
Yeah, I don't know. And
it's not hard to buy a passport here, though. If you're worth anything over 2 million.
Come to Ali, sort you out.
No, but there's a program where you can actually buy your own passport for, not if you're worth over 2 million, for 2 million.
Wow.
Well, by investing 2 million.
I've got one spare.
Economy.
If you want it, lessonsforlife@gmail.com, lessonsforlife247@gmail.com. That's a joke. I don't wish to engage in any illegal activity ever. Let's keep the channel going. Yeah. So do the people that believe in pro-life, who are pro-gun, are they also all Elvis fans? Do they? I'm just throwing that in there.
Do they all believe in the elephant in the room?
Do they? Yeah. Do they all think the moon landing was fake? I don't know. In terms of the death penalty, Ali, what is your stance on that?
My stance on it. I think, yes, not one that I would support.
You're against the death penalty.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. How do you reconcile that with religious teachings that say, yes, we should kill the murderer?
And there are religious teachings that say that you shouldn't either.
Okay, touche.
To save one life is to save all of humanity. So if you're going to, what I understand from religion, most of the Abrahamic religions, all three, mercy and forgiveness is the biggest and best thing you can do, really. Have empathy and give support to your fellow man.
Yeah, Burger Events is saying you can never bring somebody back. If you get the death penalty wrong, it's irreversible. Is that a good reason not to do it? Is that your reason against it?
No,
What's your objection to it?
I don't think you should become a murderer just because they've been a murderer. Because essentially that's what you're doing. My belief is only God can judge.
Yeah.
No human being can judge another. So by becoming a judge and what's the word, giving a sentence to death, I think that's something that's outside of our remit as human beings, but that's just my opinion.
I think we're on the same page there. It's not going to be much of a discussion. I think the death penalty is barbaric, and if you do it, you're a barbarian. Noodles is saying, hey Noodles, good to have you on board. Do you know who the barbarians were?
Yeah, they were the barbarians.
Rugby team. No,
Conan.
Conan the Barbarian. Who is Conan the Barbarian? He's a cartoon, isn't he?
I think he was a TV show.
I've got it the wrong way round. I was going to say that the Berbers were the barbarians, but it was actually, they were called Berbers because the Romans called them barbarians. So the North African Muslims who conquered
Berbers,
Spain, they were the Berbers, or the Moors, as you could call them.
Yeah.
They were regarded as barbaric, but the Romans, didn't they throw people to the lions?
Being a little bit sarcastic with his comments. So if you look back to the previous comments, I'm not sure whether they were a joke or not.
Oh yeah, because
that last
sarcasm.
one seemed
What did he
a bit
say?
of a joke. I can't remember now.
Because sarcasm's funny. There you go. Now we're cooking. No, yeah, the barbarians. I was watching a documentary about it the other day. Do you watch many documentaries?
I do not.
Oh man, I have a friend. It's all he watches.
Too few.
Burger Events are saying, I'm actually being serious, to be honest. Look, smiling. You've got to take people on their at face value. If Burger Events says he's being,
Got that one wrong then.
he's not telling a whopper, so to speak. Yeah, you like that, huh? You like
Boom,
that?
boom.
Yeah. We're really cooking now. We avoided the burger tonight. We could have had a burger, but we opted out of
Is
it.
that what we're talking about now?
Burger Events.
Shawarma. It was all about a shawarma.
Yeah.
Because shawarma making me warm.
How you doing, man? Come and be famous.
Yeah, we've got some fans going.
Yeah. Lesson for life. If you are going to Speaker's Corner, are you going to Speaker's
Can you
Corner?
not read?
Yes, I'll be there. I'll be there. Well, dude was dancing in the background. Oh, was he now?
Don't even know.
We're not paying attention.
I'm just looking at myself before I'm honest.
As long as he's dancing to our theme tune and singing it.
Can we talk?
Go on, Ali.
No.
If you want Ali to sing the
Oh, Habibi.
Habibi, I'm from America. Welcome, Habibi, or Habibti, I could say, hopefully, but it doesn't matter. I like guns. Habibi, what do you like about guns? Because it's a weapon that's designed to kill a human being or an animal. What's up, guys? Yeah, we're talking about gun crime. We watch the news. I like training with them. Okay, so you train with them. I assume you're practicing for maybe hunting, or is it more of a self-defense situation?
You're waiting for the moment where the zombies come.
Yeah. I live on the West Coast. I do a lot of shooting.
Well, the West Coast is very peaceful, isn't it?
To live and die
Well,
in LA,
actually,
Ali?
sorry, El Paso. No, that
To
was
live and
Texas.
die in LA, where every day we try to fatten our pockets. Yeah. No hunting, more self-defense. Yeah, it is peaceful. Guns symbolize freedom. No guns equals tyranny. And the King of England could come and take over. There's a channel I watch on YouTube called Active Self-Protection, and I'm fascinated by it because it's a lot of self-defense scenarios, and because it's from America, a lot of them are gun-related self-defense scenarios, and you will see situations where it's true, as they say, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. And a guy walks into the shop or the bank or wherever it is, and I saw one the other day, and he just started firing live rounds because he's trying to show that he's a real threat or whatever. And an off-duty cop, still in uniform with his weapon, pulled it out and shot him dead, and that's it.
The good guy with the gun.
The good guy with the gun stops the bad guy with the gun, and it's strange that they allow this sort of stuff to be shown on YouTube. I would have thought dead body is kind of like a gruesome thing. Like often on the news, they'll say, we had to stop this video here because after this it's too disturbing. And then obviously the person goes on. But we know what happens.
On social media these days, don't they have a cover, a guidance saying like explicit content, click at your own whatever?
At your own risk. Yeah, I know they have that on Facebook, and they say, would you like to uncover this photo?
Is it not age-based?
I don't know. I don't recall there being an age restriction on these particular videos that I'm talking about. One of my videos got an age restriction, 18, because it was about the war in Yemen. Dadash is saying dead bodies are on TV everywhere now, sadly. Well, yeah, is it...
Where I live, weed is legal.
Where I live, weed is illegal.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Habibi.
There's a few states where it's illegal.
Guns and weed, both legal. Just don't use them at the same time. Yeah. I don't know. Is it bad that we see dead bodies on TV, or do we need to see the reality?
Life is life, right?
Yeah.
You can't live with life, then what? You're going to live in a bubble.
The story goes that Siddhartha Gautama, do you know who that is, Ali?
No.
Siddhartha Gautama, Buddha. This is Buddha's original name. Siddhartha Gautama. He lived a very sheltered lifestyle. He was a prince, and his father, the king, kept him sheltered from all suffering until he was a young man, and then he saw several horrific things, and it was the first time he'd seen them. He saw an ill man, and he said, "What's happening to this guy's body? What's going on?" He'd never seen that. And then he saw a dead man, and it was the first time that he'd encountered that reality, and it was like, well, we actually die. What good is it to shelter ourselves from that reality? And why do TV channels censor dead bodies, although apparently we do see them?
I think the reason people censor it, people like Ofcom, etc., simply because people have an opinion and people don't necessarily want to see certain things, and when they have an opinion like that, they'll make time to write in the letters, send in their opinions, get rules made, and that's probably why we can't, or why we don't always see things on TV.
And then when we do see them, people get more outraged at the fact we've seen them than the fact it happened.
Because they're not desensitized to it, right?
Yeah, and now are we desensitized? Do we not care when we see another dead body washed up on the Mediterranean because we've seen it before?
There's a shed load of apathy out there, and that's really, really sad. It's really, really sad, to be honest, because nothing's really changed during my adult life in respect to that sort of apathy. If anything, that apathy has gotten stronger from my perspective, and like we all need to care a little bit more rather than thinking, oh yeah, they'll do it for me. Well, who am I? One person. You're one person out of the 7.2 billion people, but then you might be one person, but if half the other people on the planet are saying that, that's a big difference, isn't it? And I would say it's far more than half with that apathy. So, yeah.
Well, we just had news from Joe Lewis, who is on the ground in Texas, and he's saying that the shooter today that murdered 22 people was a white nationalist. Can't confirm that from any other source, but apparently he's a white nationalist. Does that surprise you?
It doesn't, because the two ways any story that comes out of there, the descriptions towards the person who commits a crime has either been a white nationalist or has been a Islamic terrorist.
Yeah.
So it's not particularly surprising. The third description would be lone gunman.
Lone gunman, yeah.
Lone gunman can go into either of those categories depending on who that lone gunman is and what their background is. So, no, it's not particularly surprising.
And we go stereotypes again. The stereotype of a shooter is the lone gunman. What kind of a person are you imagining when we say lone gunman? And I say gunman and not gunwoman because it is predominantly men that carry out these kind of attacks. Go for it, Ali. What type of person is he? I have a guess. We don't know anything about him yet. Well, now we know he's a white nationalist. But what's the profile?
Well, they're going to be particularly solitary, away from getting involved with the community, apart from maybe a community which is in itself away from getting involved with the wider community. So if we're talking about a nationalist, white nationalist, they're going to probably get involved with a small community of other white nationalists.
So a loner searching for a community.
Yeah, in general, everybody's looking for love.
Yeah.
And they just don't quite understand how they're getting that love.
Yeah. Big up Dingo Jiu-Jitsu, he's down under. I think the search for a community, and as you say, lone gunman, loner, no friends. There's a lot of talk about incels. Are you familiar with that phrase?
Say again?
An incel.
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, it's a man who is involuntarily celibate and turns into a woman hater.
Oh, an incel.
Yeah. This is like become like a subculture online. These men who are disaffected, they can't interact with women, they don't have much of a community, and it drives them to seek out fellowship in that community, and some of them have turned their anger into open fire on innocent people. Similar with disaffected white males who turn to white nationalism and hate blacks or hate immigrants because of maybe something they're actually lacking in themselves or their family life. We're all looking to blame somebody else for our own situation. And it is that whatever society has become and whatever the reason is for the fact that we don't interact anymore as much as family, there's no extended family, people living on their own, people are not looking out for each other, because we've lost that. People are looking for it in the wrong places. And in a country where anyone can walk into a supermarket and grab a firearm, is that a disaster waiting to happen?
If you think about any type of politics, whether it's family politics, normal politics, company politics, blah, 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 and people are trying to get ahead of each other, etc., within the rat race, etc., everything comes down to divide and conquer.
Okay.
And with that divide, people therefore become singular, and therefore may go down this route of incel that you're talking about. But the whole divide and conquer, like I'm a God-fearing man, it comes from one place, which is, as you might have guessed it,
Satan.
indeed the devil, right?
Okay.
Because that's the devil's trick. He tries to divide you from your maker, and if you got in touch with your maker, perhaps you might actually round off your morals a bit more and get in touch and get more involved with the people around you, because that's what religion is about. It's about helping people around you. Therefore, if we start building more and more community, less divide and conquer, less anger, less hate, it sounds a bit hippie-ish or whatever negative, positive terms you want to put on them, but like literally everybody's looking for a bit of love, and if they find their energy and love from pulling a trigger because of what they've learned through their social communications, it's just a miscommunication of love in their perspective. So, you know, it's literally just divide and conquer all over.
Okay, Corvette is mentioning that the lowest actual gun crime is in the states where guns are legal, and the highest is in places where gun control is enforced and only the cops have guns.
It's legal in America to hold guns, right? So when you're talking about legal versus illegal, you can't you've got to compare apples for apples, not apples for pears.
Okay.
Which means that the laws in America are very different to the laws elsewhere. So what stats you might pick up from somewhere like New Zealand versus America, of course it's going to be far more illegal in New Zealand because they don't allow guns over there. Mm-hmm. So anyone that does own a gun, well, that's illegal in itself.
Okay, but it's still illegal to murder someone whether you own the gun legally or illegally, right?
Right.
So this person is mentioning that Chicago is under gun control. For example, guns are illegal in Chicago, yet gun crime is rife.
Okay.
And the other item to note on that point is a lot of these gun massacres will happen in gun-free zones where there is no good guy with a gun to stop them.
Okay.
So do you?
What are you getting at?
What I'm getting at is that whether it's illegal or not is not the problem. It's the poverty. It's the area. Chicago is filled with gun crime because it's filled with gangs, and gun control has not stopped that.
They're not talking state to state. They're talking about country to country. That was a statement that they made about America versus other.
Chicago's gun crime is contributing to the net gun crime statistic in America.
For America, yes.
But guns are illegal in Chicago, or there's tighter gun control in Chicago than in other parts of America.
Right, so that will change the average of the statistics. But when we're talking about America versus other countries, it doesn't matter what states we talk about within America, because that's all going towards America stats. So when they were talking about stats country to country, I don't think that's part of the conversation really.
All we can do is try to find a way to reduce the murder rate, right? Whether it's with guns or not with guns.
I mean, what can we really do with two guys speaking into a camera in London?
Yeah, well, we got a few viewers in America. I don't know. We're reaching out. We're two people.
Make a difference over there. Over here, where we are, we can make a difference to the knife crime. Because that's...
Let's make knives illegal. Knife control.
Knife control. There is a knife control here, isn't there?
And what is the knife control?
As
someone who has been stopped in possession of a suspected dangerous weapon, you don't have to tell that story.
Suspected. It was part of sports equipment.
It was described as a lethal weapon.
It was.
He was threatening people with it on a field. On a field, the opposition.
Shut up. Well, yeah, maybe. Threatening to score a goal. Whoa.
Yeah. Threatened to.
Anyway, what is the knife?
So what is the knife? What are the rules with the law when it comes to knives?
There's some sort of Is that a word?
Inch,
of-
inch limit. I think that's a
inch
myth.
limit. Oh, really?
From what I understand, it is intention. Why have you got the thing in London? If you are,
No, you can't be carrying around a
Car-
machete.
it's intention. What you can do with a machete, you can do with a kitchen knife. I've just bought it from wherever
No,
they
you
sell
can do
kitchen knives.
more damage with a machete than you can do with a kitchen knife.
When someone's dead, they're dead, right? You can't kill
Yeah,
them
but
more.
That's not answering the question of what I just said. You can do more damage with a machete than you can with a kitchen knife. Because one, it's got a bigger reach.
Do more
two, it's
damage,
got-
but when you're dead, you're dead.
okay, if you're talking about death, yeah, sure.
You know,
But that's going down a different. You've got to answer one question before you take it down another stream.
yeah, I've been on the most dangerous spot on Earth. Did you know that? Sign up there says danger of death. Doesn't get any more dangerous than that, right? Dying. It's just some electrical equipment. So yeah, all right, you can murder someone with a machete, you can murder someone with a penknife. What, but you here as my good friend,
But there's a bigger reach with the machete than there is
you
with a
can
penknife.
murder someone from further away.
Absolutely, a penknife only has that reach, whereas a machete has that reach.
Okay.
So,
But this is it. This is why it comes to intention, right? If I work at the Machete Museum and I've just brought a new exhibit and it's in a case and I'm carrying it along for it
Okay.
to be put in display,
Yeah, sure.
that will be a legit excuse for me to have a machete.
yeah, but you probably have some sort of license to go along with it.
There is no machete license. There is no knife license. That's why your lethal weapon was deemed okay, because you showed him you were legit and you showed him that other sports equipment.
Okay.
Had we been on our way to a fight or on our way to a murder, that would have been deemed as a... This is the law as I understand it in the United Kingdom, that it all comes down to intention. And you can be a fisherman who's on his way to go fishing and he needs a knife to get the fish. But if I'm in plain clothes walking down the streets of London and I can't explain why I've got the implement, because how do you legislate for knives? It must be about intention. Unless I'm wrong, maybe someone who knows the law better than me can update me. Kovef is saying in this country, I believe you can get arrested and charged for wearing a stab vest. That's possible. What is a stab vest?
The vest that stabs you?
Does it mean a stab-proof vest? And this will be the last question and the last answer. But, okay. So you can be arrested for wearing a stab-proof, I presume that means vest, because you are going prepared. Now, I have worn a stab-proof vest in the line of work. Bulletproof would also
that
be
be-
bad. Would that also you'd also be in jail? You
Would,
can be okay. The stab-proof, but is this bulletproof as well? That's even worse. Okay, so if they could deduce that your intention was, I'm on my way to a confrontation where knives might be involved, hence I'm wearing a stab-proof vest, and Stormzy wore one on stage recently, you need a legit reason and I think a license. Well, as I say, in the line of work, I have worn a stab-proof vest when I've been working.
You have a license though, don't you?
I have a security license,
Right.
but does that cover wearing a vest? It gives me a purpose. Here we go. It's all about intention and reason. And the law, although written down in a book, is applied by human beings. Is there a minimum inch length on knife before it becomes unlawful? We don't think so. I think that's a myth.
Someone needs to Google it.
Someone needs to Google it.
Just
But
Google
I'm going to, as we cross the 45-minute mark, I'm going to wrap things up. I'm going to thank Ali for joining me, and I'm just going to ask him if he has any closing comments without swearing.
Don't do guns, kids.
Put the guns away, put the guns down, put the knives down, take the stab-proof jacket off, and just hug it out. This has been Lessons for Life on the streets of London. We'll do it all again soon. Watch out tomorrow. We'll be in Speaker's Corner. And we were here. We're gone. Laters.